joined by the Minister responsible, the Housing Minister, Michael Sukkar. Michael, these are pretty fantastic figures. I mean, they're outstanding. I've got to say, they're outstanding figures, so well done to you. Give me the split between new homes and renovations, and what's been the impact, not just on jobs, but have we got new apprenticeships out of this in order to keep up with the demand?
Yeah, great to be with you, Peter. Look, these are obviously phenomenal results and exceeded our expectations. The program, we've seen 120,000 projects. About 80% of them are new builds and 20% are substantial renovations. And if we think back to a year, Peter, when the pandemic hit, new home sales just stopped overnight. And if you're not selling new homes, then you're not building them, and all of the trades and the supply chain that is involved in the residential construction industry comes to a stop. The Master Builders Association, the Housing Industry Association were very, very concerned that hundreds of thousands of jobs would be lost as a result of the residential construction industry coming to a grinding halt. That's why we put in place HomeBuilder, and we were hopeful with HomeBuilder that it would at least ensure that the industry maintained pre-pandemic levels of new home sales and new home builds. Never did we think that it would, the HomeBuilder program would lead to a 30% increase, stronger than pre-pandemic. The $25,000 grant, it's driven first home buyers now, which are at their highest level for nearly 15 years. Owner-occupiers, people who are buying those houses for themselves, are dominating the market. They're now 3/4 of the market, dominating investors. So it is protected, most importantly, the hundreds of thousands of jobs in the construction industry. And it's not just the bricklayers and the carpenters and the tilers on site, but the manufacturing workers who make the bricks and the tile and the glass, the timber mill workers who make the frames and the trusses. I mean, it's a huge ecosystem of workers, and the HomeBuilder program has protected those up to 1 million jobs. And as I've seen around the place, Peter, to get to your last question, builders now have a pipeline of work of 2 to 3 years, which means they're taking that crucial decision to take on an apprentice or two, and they're obviously being supported by the apprentice wage subsidy scheme as well. So we're building for the future as well as protecting the industry for today.
Yeah, it's so good to hear that, particularly new builds, particularly first home buyers, because we know that's a lot of small to mediums in that first building category. I was a bit dubious of the renos. It doesn't surprise me that they're 20% out of the 100, that 80 is in the new builds. What do you say to critics who are out there saying, look, they're always going to spend the cash. Once people can't travel overseas, they're always going to spend the money around the home. What do you say to that?
Well, the Labor Party said this was too little, too late. The Labor Party, in fact, the leader of the opposition said this would just fund pearl taps and gold baths. The leader of the opposition should get out to more building sites, as I have, and meet the young first home buyer couples in most cases who are purchasing their first home, and many of them said to me that the HomeBuilder grant was the difference between buying a home and not, getting out of that rental cycle. It obviously complements the first home loan deposit scheme, which we've also put in place, which helps first home buyers purchase a home with a 5% deposit. So we saw this as a great opportunity to, yes, protect those million jobs in the residential construction industry, but get new people into their first home. And the idea now with 2020 hindsight that when the pandemic hit, this wasn't a risk and it wasn't a threat is just disingenuous. The Master Builders Association was predicting new home builds of 115,000 this financial year. We'll now see new home builds of 195,000. Every one of those new homes represents at least 32 full-time jobs through all the trades and through all the manufacturing. So
it's fantastic.
I think people just have to turn their mind back 12 months and, you know, what the industry and indeed what the economy was facing was quite scary, and that's why the HomeBuilder program's been so successful indeed, you know, above our expectations.
So I want to know now, with the budget around the corner, how's your arm twisting going with Josh Frydenberg? Do you think you'll get an extension?
Well, look, we're not planning on extending the scheme. The scheme's done its job. The scheme has protected those jobs. We've now got a pipeline of work of, as I said, 18 months, 2 years. Some builders are saying even 3 years of work that they will now be able to effectively plan for. So it's done its job. We've always said that in response to the pandemic, our economic responses would be timely and targeted. This has been very targeted. It's been timely. It's come to an end. We're now looking and examining how the industry is going to manage this pipeline and workflow. Obviously, they've got a lot of work to do, and there's tight timeframes involved. So we're keeping a really close eye on that. But I think really exciting days ahead for an industry that I think many Australians are proud of. When you drive past the building site and see young people working hard and building something as tangible as somebody's home, I think it makes all Australians rightly feel good about our country and our economy.
And nothing focuses the mind about the future as having to pay a mortgage. I love it too. It's really good for the values of a country, if nothing else too, Michael Sukkar. So well done. 400% better than Treasury expected you would do. So take a bow. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks so much, Peter.